they don't turn my poop different colors, I'm going to be hella surprised. 28 days. Why does it feel like 287? The world may never know. Before we manifested our destiny all over it. Try and get 191 nations to agree on anything. Trump versus the news. It's hard to call it a prop considering how absolutely invaluable it is to the show these days. Funny enough, we got offered another show on April 26th. That's why doctors work with scalpels. People that can't count to 4 work with chainsaws. Unless somebody just spits in your face, I don't see how it's worse customer service than Amazon.
Hard Rock Lunchbox.
Greetings and salutations. Unfortunately, it's time once again for the Hard Rock Lunchbox. And if you're watching this magnificent mess on YouTube, on Strangerhood TV, welcome to the top 20, everybody. How's everybody doing? The only upside, as far as I can tell so far today, is that it is the 27th of February, 2025, which means, we are almost done with this month. Almost. 28 days. Why does it feel like 287? The world may never know. But here we are. March is set to arrive on Saturday. Now, as anybody that's been following stuff going on in Washington, that is not a guarantee, so I suppose we could rename the month at any time we wanted to, too, much like a body of water that's already been internationally recognized. My favorite thing about the whole Gulf of Mexico thing so far has been the old maps that show why it's actually called the Gulf of Mexico, because it was surrounded by Mexico before we manifested our destiny all over it. As gross as that sounds, still amusing to me. But, like, maps are kind of like facts, and they were the case. Now, map makers have been inherently incorrect, but when all of the maps in the world refer to a body of water as the Gulf of Mexico, that's generally the accepted thing. I did think it was funny, and I don't know that I said it on this show or not, but I did think that it was funny that the Associated Press, which is one of, the main news organizations of the world, it's an international thing. AP doesn't stand for American Press, in case you wanted to know. But the Associated Press, they're responsible, and they don't bias stuff. They're like, I want to say they're like an aggregator, but that's not quite true. Ground News is an aggregator. By the way, still not a sponsor, and I'll still tell you to get it. But they do, they report, kind of bullet points of information, very little editorializing going on there. They're just about news and information, which is why the AP is kind of like such a trusted source, it just is. But the Trump administration has banned, or is trying to ban, the AP from the White House Correspondents' Room or whatever. And the reason they're doing that is because the Associated Press isn't referring to the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America. Why, you might ask? Because the name of it is, internationally at least, is the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, and yes, the president has the power to decree that he can name all of our bodies of water, whatever he wants within the grounds of this country, and that's fine. But it's important to realize that the international community has a way to do that. You think government in Washington works slow and bureaucratic. You should check out everything related to the UN and any sort of world organizations, because we're just trying to get two sides to agree. You try and get 191 nations to agree on anything. But as it turns out, almost all of them recognize the Gulf of Mexico as being the Gulf of Mexico. And since, as I said, the Associated Press is an international entity, their editorial concerns lie with the international community, and that is currently the official name internationally, according to the international body that governs those things. It is called the Gulf of Mexico. And Trump got really mad about that and threw a tantrum and decided to kick the AP out of that, which is just... I've seen childish behavior from children and non-children my entire life, but this is just perfect childish behavior. But the single greatest part about that is that one of the organizations that actually came to the AP's defense was Newsmax, like the far right-wing news organization. And their argument was very sound. Like, freedom of the press really is all but absolute in our Constitution. It's in the First Amendment of the Bill of Rights. And they were like, they're allowed to call it kind of whatever they want, and you can't really have a tantrum about that. So that's kind of where we're at with Trump versus the news, which is going to be ongoing for a few years, I assure you. But before I get to the rest of the show, let's just handle some light housekeeping. So the new Top 20 is out today on Strangerhood TV. If you did not watch it, I really recommend this one in particular. I actually went back and listened to some of it because I know it probably surprises nobody that listens to this show on the regular, but I don't always remember what it is I say. I don't have scripts here. Sometimes I bring materials like to read. Sometimes I bring props like the light stick. I mean, it's hard to call it a prop considering how absolutely invaluable it is to the show these days. But I usually come in with some sort of nugget of an idea and I just speak. It seems to be the thing that has been good about the show for the 427 years I've been doing it, so that's just how I do things. But as a result, I don't always remember exactly how I said things. And sometimes I'll get called out for stuff, and I apologize and issue retractions and all that other stuff. But I did want to go back and listen to it because I know I was talking pretty freely about mental health and addictions and the parallels that I was seeing in that. And I did go back and listen, and I was actually, in my humble opinion, non-humble opinion, spot on in my delivery of what it was that I was trying to communicate. So if you haven't heard it or you haven't seen it, I strongly urge you to go check it out. I think it'll be helpful for anyone suffering from any form of addiction or mental illness or mental health, and for anybody that knows somebody that is dealing with that. So I would recommend that. I also so I talk about that and talk about the longest February and trumping the wannabe king and the return of Andrew Cuomo. That's all good stuff. You should check that out. Our next Revel 9 show that is on the books is April 26th. Funny enough, we got offered another show on April 26th. Yeah, we had 2 show offers this year so far, and both are on the same day. So I don't know what that says about me. That was pretty funny. Bacon is my podcast. Talking about horror movie recommendations for beginners with Plastic Rhino. They talk about Dingle Balls, Arts and Crafts. They talk about that with Mo from Save Ferris. And the What's Your Bacon is to discover the magic of Dingle Balls with Save Ferris. So check that out. All the cool programming over on Strangerhood TV. Now that Oswald's Revenge is releasing material, it is all coming out also on Strangerhood TV, as far as I can tell. I haven't seen it anywhere else. So always good content over there, and more of it every week, including this stupid show. So yeah, Strangerhood TV. So I was going to talk a little politics, but honestly, I'm starting to burn myself out on some of it. I really am just so grossly overwhelmed and disturbed by the level of the moron confidence that really is surging again on the right on social media. It is one thing to be loud and obnoxious and fight an argument or stuff, but seriously, these people just keep steeping their arguments in stuff that's knowably not true. It just baffles me that people are just so comfortable, and probably it's preferable to them to live in such ignorance. I mean, the simple fact that so many people are quoting Joe Rogan as an authority, or Donald Trump as if he isn't a liar, and Elon Musk as if he isn't a liar, is just bananas. I mean, even in its simplest form. I mean, the whole Doge, which, by the way, as Tony pointed out, is not a thing. It hasn't been created by Congress. It doesn't actually exist. As far as you and I are concerned, Doge is a boys' club. Literally, a soccer team has about as much authority, because it doesn't exist yet. It's not a department of anything. It's a club at best, and a bad one, to be perfectly honest. But And as far as Joe Rogan goes, like, I love Joe Rogan. Like, I think he's great for what he does, and I think he's good at what he does. He will forever be, to me, the electrician from news radio that used to make his own duct tape, and I feel like that should be what we remember him for. But the reality is he's a YouTube star, and that's what he does. And yes, he's very interested and very knowledgeable in the things that he's interested and knowledgeable about. But one of the things that he's actually quite good at is having guests from kind of all over that get to speak. I mean, you could have Alex Jones, who I talked about at the time, and Joe Rogan actually let him continue the claims about Sandy Hook, the things that literally bankrupted the man because they proved in a court of law that he was a liar and just basically being a bad dude all over the place. And, I'm not necessarily for suppression of free speech, but like, you're doing stuff that's literally been found in a court of law to not be protected free speech, because again, free speech is not absolute, right? There are rules, there are limits as set forth by the Supreme Court and even, within further amendments to the Constitution. Like, so you're not actually allowed to do whatever you want, whenever you want, right? Like, there's a lot of hate speech that's not protected. You can't yell fire in a movie theater. I mean, that's right from a Supreme Court decision. Like, these are things that you're actually not allowed to do. But like, he let him do it, which I thought was a bad idea. Like, I thought that was poor judgment. But like, if you want to talk about like mixed martial arts, or you want to talk about like hunting, you want to talk about he's absolutely your guy, because he is very knowledgeable, very researched and stuff like that. But like, talking about like vaccines and conspiracy theories, like, he just has access to the same YouTube nonsense that you do, and maybe he doesn't have that discerning of a brain to figure out like what's right and what's wrong. And also, there's a part of me that wonders if he's not. I mean, if he's doing that intentionally. And the reason I think that is because during the Fox News lawsuit with Dominion, and Dominion basically proved in court, and that's why Fox had to settle, they proved in court that Fox News commentators were actively lying about the election rigging by the Dominion voting machines. And they knew that because even though they'd be on TV, like Laura Ingraham and Tucker Carlson and all those dipshits, like, they had text messages between each other being like, I can't keep saying this. Like, I know this is not true. So half of me wonders half the time if Joe Rogan is like just letting stuff go because he's got the biggest podcast in the world, and if he doesn't let the stupid people get what they want, they'll just get it somewhere else. So if that's the case, I mean, I'd love to see him just be like, oh yeah, I know this is wrong, just to like the rest of us, but like, I know you can't do that. It's kind of like whenever you see those hidden cameras of like Republican congressmen talking, like saying the quiet part out loud. I mean, I realize they're doing a lot of that now, but like, it used to be shocking. Like, this is what they really think, but this is what they voted for, that kind of thing. And it's just really quite bananas. But I just, the confidence and like sureness of these people that are just saying stuff. Like, I had a real issue with somebody the other day that was talking about like all the Doge cuts in the federal government are basically all these work from home, lazy, freeloading people making over $150,000, and that's the only people that are getting cut. Well, that's just not true, and that's something that's factually knowable. And if you're interested, I even posted something about it just today, just a story, just a random, this happened to this person. And you're seeing it constantly. Like, I saw a really good, well, not good, but it was an interview outside of Philly with this dude who was a Trump supporter and was working for the IRS. He was one of the guys that went in 5 days a week. He actually joined, tried to do civil service because he actually believed there was inefficiency in government. Because there is. It's a giant machine. You don't think there's some inefficiency there? Like, if you think it's humming along perfectly, like, that's its whole other problem. It isn't. It needs some fixing, and it needs some overhauls, and we can talk about that at some other point, because it's really about auditing and oversight, which the Republicans hate. And again, as you know, the only reason you would hate and oppose auditing and the only reason you would oppose auditing and oversight is if you're trying to scam something or you're trying to get around that. Like, if you have, that thing, like, if you have nothing to hide, then you have nothing to hide. Like, then it doesn't really matter. Like, look at my books. Like, go ahead. Like, look at them. Like, But if you are trying to hide something, then it's like, don't look at my books. You're not allowed to do that. So Republicans are the ones that are always against auditing and oversight. And that's what the system truly needs. And I had posted something yesterday about the NPR initiative during Clinton's administration, where he downsized the government by like 370,000 workers, and how that was done differently with bipartisan support and review and all that other stuff. So if you're interested in any of that, just go ahead and check that out. It's on my Facebook page. I thought it was interesting, which is why I posted it. But, so the thing I posted today is this, 24-year-old woman that works for the Forest Service. She makes $40,000 a year, and she just got fired. No reason, no nothing. She just got fired. Trump supporter. She voted for Trump, and now she probably won't, because as I assert in my post, like, all these Trump supporters are now actually finding out, like, what a liar he actually is, and, like, this is not what they thought was going to happen. And sometimes you really do have to listen, but all these people are so stoked and so wired to just want to believe what they want to believe that they refuse to look. And as I've said a million times, like, all of those psychological problems that like the Dunning-Kruger effect, where you just can't get somebody to understand or release their opinions or what they believe in just because you're telling them to, unless they're really ready to learn and evolve. And, like, that's a real world thing. And on the tail of talking about mental illness last week, like, that's a real mental effect. Like, that actually happens. It's documented. You see it probably all the time. And so, but these people are now doubling down. Like, if you see anybody that's like, this is who's getting fired, $150,000 a year, work from home, like, just remember that story. Just remember that story and hundreds like it, Oh, the guy in Pennsylvania, like, he got laid off and he couldn't figure out why. He thought he was the one, like, he was the people they wanted. They don't. They're not interested in meritocracy at all. Like, it's just, when you take a chainsaw to something, like, it's not the smoothest cut. That's why doctors work with scalpels, right? And, people that can't count to 4 work with chainsaws. No offense, people that work with chainsaws, but it's probably enough of me and politics. But I do want to talk about CVS for a second. And as much as I don't like CVS, like, I am still grateful it's there. It probably won't be for long now that Amazon is dipping into all that other stuff. And we can discuss how wonderful it is that Amazon guarantees delivery on something and then just doesn't deliver it, which is why I will never get my medicine from Amazon, because they don't. I asked them today, I was like, where's this thing? Like, oh, it's going to be there March 1st now. I'm like, it says right here, guaranteed delivery on the 27th. And they're like, well, that's too bad. You can return it when you get it. Like, that's their answer. Like, if you've ever seen worse customer service in your life, like, I would love to see where that is, because I think unless somebody just spits in your face, I don't see how it's worse customer service than Amazon, because they don't care. And that has been the business model the entire time, to just overwhelm all the competition till they're the only game in town, and then what are you going to do about it? You're not going to do anything about it. So don't buy from Amazon if you can help it. I realize I have to buy from Amazon sometimes, because for some things, they really are the only game in town. And the simple fact that I keep trying to buy from Walmart as an option is just, it still blows my mind, because Walmart used to be the big bad wolf for decades, and now it's Amazon, and I'm turning to the lesser big bad wolf to try and stick it to Amazon. But I wanted to talk about CVS specifically. So CVS, what I find interesting about them is that they are just totally overpriced, right? They always are, but they're a brick and mortar store. They exist almost everywhere, and that's really important for medicines, for quick just running in and getting some, stuff that you need that CVS sells. Like, I'm not somebody that buys my organic turkey from CVS, but I'm not beyond getting shampoo from there, or, whatever. And so that's really good. But I am an Extra Care Plus member, and I know that sounds elitist, because it is, where I actually pay them every year. But because of that, I get free delivery on my prescriptions. And since I take so many prescriptions at this point, don't worry, there's nothing serious. Most of them are for my kidney stones, but I have to take them every month, and I'd rather not go 12 times a year and just sit in line with everybody who's got the flus, measles, hepatitis, whatever. I just don't want to do that, so it makes more sense. But one of the things they give you when you pay that $44 a year, in addition to the free shipping, is they give you a $10 coupon every month. Here's $10. It just goes right into your account. Now you have to use it in that month, and that's fine. I can play that game. So my coupon came yesterday, And I went I logged into CVS. I logged into CVS mainly because I needed to authorize a prescription to be delivered, but that's neither here nor there. But I went in, and what I always seem to forget about CVS is they always have these really ridiculous sales. And I know in the industry they're called loss leaders, right? There's something that's sold under cost so that you come in and buy it, but they know that if you come in to buy this item for $1, you're going to be like, oh, I need this, I need this, I need this. Like, that's the game, right? If you can just be real strict and real on point, you can go in and get the sale item and then just get out. But they know for most people it's very difficult, especially if you're dragging a kid along, because now you got to get candy too, and that's just the rules. But so I hopped on. And I did get a couple of things that I needed, including some heavily lotioned tissues, which I think are important. But they were selling cereal, specifically Kellogg's cereal, for I think it was $1.49. Now, I don't eat cereal. I mean, I will occasionally have Cheerios and Honey Nut Cheerios. Those tend to be my go-tos. I like grape nuts and yogurt. I don't feel like that's more of a topping than a cereal. This should be something they really should discuss on Big As My podcast, but we're going to do it here. So I went on, and I was able to get 2 boxes of Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, which, by the way, are just as awful and delicious as you remember, and 3 boxes of Fruit Loops. Each one was like $1.49, but kind of after I did all my coupon stuff and all that other stuff, ended up getting those 5 boxes for less than $5. They also gave me same-day delivery on it for free. In therapy, I'm supposed to be working on things that are good, things that happen to me that are good, because it's really hard to kind of go through your days and find the good things, the silver linings. But I will tell you, last night and even this morning, when I was barehanding my Fruit Loops, which, for the record, the color of these things, it just defies all wisdom and logic. It kind of looks like a pastel highlighter just painted all of these things, because these are definitely not the same colors I grew up with. I mean, these are bright and vibrant, and if they don't turn my poop different colors, I'm going to be hella surprised. But I will say, just having the ability to just hop up on CVS, order some very undervalued, charging cereal from my childhood, having it delivered the same day, and being able to stuff a handful or 2 of those beautifully colored loops into my mouth, it really was a moment. And sometimes moments really are all that we have. So that's my nonsense for today. Let's get on to some local music, as we always do when we start the Hard Rock Lunchbox. There's a whole lot of talk about Oswald's Revenge and all the noise that they're making, but lest you forget that they're all from different bands, and they all came from somewhere, and that's important to me, too, as sort of this legacy of where music comes from. But Andy, as I'm sure most of you know, came from a band called Off the Turnpike. They had sent me music forever ago, and I've just known them about that long. And I gotta say, I have a real soft spot for some of the classic Off the Turnpike, and hopefully you do too, because we're starting the show off with Boxer.